This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Sovereignty over journalism, followed by Baeza and final gambit. Give me that superfecta, baby. Let's go. We cashed it with Sovereignty on top, journalism second, Baeza third, final gambit fourth. Woo! I love me some Kentucky Derby action. That is how you hit the superfecta.
There you have it. That was Derby 151. Derby 152 is tomorrow. Mark Malusis and the man, Mike Somich, with you, who predicted the superfecta and hit it a year ago. Final gambit, closing out that superfecta, running fourth behind Sovereignty, journalism, and obviously Baeza. Pressure's on this year, Mike. There's no question about it.
Yeah, no kidding, right? It's just, it's just the Kentucky Derby, top four. Easy thing to pick the superfecta. One of the holy grails when you are betting on horses is to try and hit the Kentucky Derby superfecta. It's a $1 base wager instead of 10 cents, which you see in a lot of other races. And, you got 20 horses, Mark. You really got to narrow it down. Last year, able to cash on a $24 ticket that paid $1,600. I am going to spend a little more money this year, Mark. We're kicking it up to $36. So we have a little more coverage in that third and fourth spot, but still a very affordable ticket for anybody who wants little action here on the Kentucky Derby.
All right, we'll get to it. There's been some scratches. The 5, Right to Party, came up sick. He's out. Silent Tactic, the 13, is out, as is the 20, Full Effort, for Brad Cox and Tyler Gaffalione, who was 20-1 on the morning line. Mike, I'll ask you this question. When you look at this field, how deep do you think contention is when you're looking at win possibilities, win probabilities? How many of these 3-year-olds do you think have an opportunity to win tomorrow?
See, that's always an interesting question because I have kind of locked in on 2 who I think are the horses that I am interested in betting to win. When I talk about horses who could win, I think you could. I've heard people make legitimate cases, not ridiculous ones, but legitimate cases for 10 horses in this field, which is in my mind much more than we could have made last year. Like last year, to me, it was really Sovereignty or journalism. I thought that was the list, and a lot of the other arguments to me felt a little flat. Even a horse like Denon Bourbon, who we heard Steve Bick talk about, a horse that I don't have interest in. I have heard people make legitimate cases as to why he's going to be able to run well, why he'd be able to win this race. We had Steve on earlier and say he really likes the emerging market. That's another horse that I'm not going to bet. I have no interest in taking a horse third start into the Kentucky Derby, especially after I thought that stretch run wasn't that great with Pavlovian, who you see on the board at 30-1 and a horse that's being overlooked in this race. Hard for me to then get excited about the horse that beat him by a nose, and you're getting 10-1 on in a much bigger and tougher field. So contention in my mind runs deep, and it starts on the rail with Renegade, which is going to be one of the more polarizing horses in this race. He's your favorite right now on the board at 5-1. We've talked about how terrible that one post is. Renegade is a closer, so at least he has a little bit of an advantage to be able to just drop back from the 1 mark. But that means you're going to have to be on the inside in the first turn, weave through traffic on the backside, find a way to get through on the far turn because you're unlikely to be able to just go really wide, and then have to have enough and be the best horse. And that's a lot to ask for a favorite in a race with 20 horses.
All right, so who do you think then? You mentioned you've kind of circled on 2. Who are those 2, Mike?
Well, I'm going to lean on the Florida circuit. I kind of comp this to college basketball. When you're filling out your bracket, you pick a conference and you ride a conference. I'm going to do the same thing here with the Florida circuit, which was the best throughout the entire season. We saw the Puma beat Further Ado down in the Tampa Bay Derby. We saw then the Puma go to the Florida Derby, run with Commandment, run with Chief Wallaby, the 3 of them all within a length. Look, I fell in love with Chief Wallaby when he had his debut race at 7 furlongs at Gulfstream Park. He beat the Puma that day by multiple lengths, and the move that was made around the far turn, as a horse racing fan, was breathtaking. Rarely do you see a 3-year-old first time out at 7 furlongs not get asked and just go right on by. And this horse is bred to run all day. The 1.25 miles won't be a problem. The issue is his head hasn't caught up with his talent yet, and you saw that problem in the Fountain of Youth when he had a worse trip than Commandment, went 4 wide on both turns. But he got the lead and then kind of looked around a little bit. And so he ended up losing to Commandment by a neck that day. You fast forward to the Florida Derby, a great position, but as Commandment ranges up on the outside of him, you see him tuck in a little bit, and then you see the Puma come out, and he goes back out, and he doesn't want to split the 2 horses until after the wire. And when he does that, he runs right by them. So mentally, we've got to get there, and that's why Bill Mott's adding blinkers, because Blinkers essentially allow a horse to focus more. They don't worry as much about what's around them, but stay on task and stay to running. I trust Bill Mott. I realize the last 25 years, horses adding blinkers, 0 for 13. If you look at that list of 13 horses, Palace Malice is the only legit horse in that list, and he went nuts. Like they put blinkers on him, and it scared him, and he's shot out. I'm going to trust Bill Mott is going to be ready in this situation. I've got some big future tickets on Chief Wallaby. I'm not going to back off. I think Chief Wallaby is the most talented horse in this field. If I could bet a Travers future on Chief Wallaby, sign me up right now. I would love to be able to do that. We'll see if Saturday is too early, but I think Chief Wallaby has a legit shot here. And I don't mind getting the 10-1 that we've seen him kind of hovering around in the Kentucky Derby pool right now. The other for me is the Puma. This is the same connections as Mage. He's going to drop back, make one big run. And one thing I don't think is being talked about enough in this race is how fast this pace is going to be. You've got 6 speed from the 17 that is going to absolutely fire out of there. You've got the 4 litmus test that wants to go. And as we've had horses fall off the main field, we're starting to draw more and more speed into this race. And that, to me, is also going to be an issue. You've got Great White in the 27. The 23 draws in. That's another horse that wants to be able to be forward and wants to be on the lead. I wouldn't be shocked if we're looking at a sub-46 first half. And if that's the case, I want horses like Puma. I want horses like Chief Wallaby who are going to be coming from off of the pace. I think they're the two horses I'm interested in betting, and the two that are going to end up on top of my superfecta.
If Renegade was not drawn to the rail, say Renegade and Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher, they got a little luck, and say it was the 8 or the 9, pick another post position, would Renegade be your top choice?
He would be he would not be my top choice. I was lower on Renegade than most people heading into this circuit. Renegade did beat the Puma in the Sam F. Davis down at Tampa Bay, but the Puma's trip that day was really bad. They actually switched jockeys after that day and went back to Javier Castellano. I think that the Puma would have been right there or had beaten Renegade that day. And so it still would have been hard for me at the 4-1 price to say, well, I'm going to go with this horse versus a horse I think is the same talent, and I'm getting 8-1 on that horse. So the Renegade would have ended up on my super ticket had he been outside of that one post. But in the one post, since I was already low on him, to me, it's an easy chuck from everything.
Yeah, my top 2 picks, I think contention's probably, I can't make an argument for 10. I can't go 12 deep or anything like that. I really honestly think it's probably about 5 or 6 in contention. Commandment, the Puma. I like Chief Wallaby. How do you not? I give a healthy respect to emerging market for this one reason, Mike, and one reason only, the human connections. You mentioned in terms of breaking down Chief Wallaby. I don't think Chad Brown is one of those that has Derby fever. Like, we've seen him skip the Derby before and go to the Preakness. So I do think when you look at the human connections of Brown and Flavien Prat, even though this is only going to be his 3rd lifetime start, very talented 3-year-old. I don't think Brown's there just to be a part of the Kentucky Derby experience. Therefore, 15 plus to 1, I'll give a shot underneath when you're looking at emerging market. To me, I like 2 horses. I like Chief Wallaby for everything that you sent, Mike, and I like Renegade. And I'm going to still use them even breaking from the rail based on the fact of all the speed, that more speed is being drawn into the race with the 3 scratches that we have seen up until this point in time. I agree with you. I think we're going to see a sub 46 half mile. I don't think the rail. Now, listen, Ortiz is going to have to work out a hell of a trip. There's no question about it. But I don't think the rail is as big of a killer. And I think even if he was breaking from 5, 6, 7, 8, pick another post, he still would have needed some racing luck if you like Renegade. And I do think the turn of foot that we saw in Arkansas, if we get the speed and he gets a clean trip and we're at the top of the stretch and you see Renegade and you see Arado Ortiz open up his arms, I don't think there's another horse in the race that has the turn of foot that Renegade has.
Well, it's interesting, too. We talked about this a lot on VSiN at the track. Like, if you like Renegade, to me, drawing the 1 is maybe a positive for the simple reason that now you're getting a better price. If Renegade was in the 8, he's probably 7-2. Right, he's getting bet down from that 4-1 morning line versus floating up from that 4-1 morning line. So if you're a believer in Renegade, I think that this is a positive situation from a pricing perspective. And you're almost like, yeah, look, if I was going to bet him at 4-1 in the 8, I'll bet him at 5-1 in the 1. I do think that that's about a fair transition there from the change of the post position. I do want to talk about Further Ado. This is one where I have gone back and forth on this horse, has the best buyer of any horse heading into this race. However, his 2 highest career buyers were both at Keeneland. has won at Churchill Downs. However, that's his worst 2-turn race. So how good was that race really? And the trip from the 18, I think, is also a little bit of a struggle. He's a more forward horse, and we're talking about how fast this pace is going to be. Can he change styles and be in 10th or 11th and then make this run? Or B, is he going to be like 4 wide on the first turn and sitting in 5th? Like that to me is a death trip if he's in the second one. The first one is a new style. I just don't know what to do with Further Ado. Did you look at him at all? Is he someone that you're interested underneath?
I did. I'm going to use him underneath, but begrudgingly. I'm a little bit concerned, Mike. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about coming off that Toyota Bluegrass, and it was an amazing performance. Do we see a little bit of regression in Further Ado tomorrow in the Kentucky Derby? That would be the concern to me. Now, listen, if he runs back to that race, he's going to win the race. If he improves off that race, he's going to win the Kentucky Derby. But, Mike, we've been around the track way too long. We've seen horses have those kind of performances, and then in the very next race, you see a little bit of a regression. And I think if he regresses, I could see him finishing in the Superfecta. I just can't see him winning the race.
Yeah, well, he regressed 15% off his last top buyer at Keeneland. If he regresses 15%, he is in trouble. All right, time for the Superfecta here, Mark. We'll see if we can go 2 in 2 years. It's going to be a $36 ticket. We're going to play 9, 12 in the first spot, with 6, 9, 11, 12 in the second spot, 6, 9, 11, 12, 18 in the third spot, and 6, 9, 11, 12, 18 in the fourth spot for $1. That'll cost you $36. If you're listening, don't worry. Follow me at Samabom18 or at VSiN Live on Twitter. We'll throw this ticket up right after the show over there as well. So you'll be able to find it in a very easily digestible form there, Mark.
I love it. Love it. Let's make it 2 for 2. 2 straight years in a row. Stormy joins us next. It's Money Moves on a Friday right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, if you're betting the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, don't just pick a pretty name. Get the data that wins. Daily Racing Form's Derby package gives you past performances, clocker reports, and expert picks all in one place. And right now, you can save 37%, but only for a limited time. Go to shop.drf.com or scan the QR code on your screen. DRF, bet smarter. Love the Daily Racing Form, no doubt about it. Well, we are Pony Guys. Mark Malusis, Mike Samich filling in for JVT and Stormy Bonatoni, who joins us now on the guest line, co-host of Money Moves each and every day right here on VSiN, also ESPN sideline reporter. Happy Friday, Stormy. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for holding down the fort over there on Money Moves. What's going on?
Not too much. Finally get the Stormy Bonatoni appearance. It only took an hour to get you on your own show here. Let's talk about the game. So you're in Utah right now. You're getting ready for Game 6 with Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights and the Utah Mammoth. There been a wild series through to this point, back-to-back overtime games. What do you expect tonight from that Utah crowd? I know you've been to a bunch of barns across the U.S. Is this going to be buzzing tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be loud here at Delta Center, and I got my first experience of it for Game 4 the other night. And even with Vegas scoring early and kind of quieting the crowd at the offset, boy, did they get back into this thing, right? They scored 4 unanswered goals in that game. That place was rocking. I have noise-canceling earpieces that I wear so that I can hear the broadcast, and I had trouble hearing Steve Levy and TJ Oshie throughout the course of the game just because it was so loud. So, in a situation like this where you're facing elimination, it's the first time that this city has had the playoffs here at home. They're going to be going buck wild again today. And interestingly enough, Mike, this was something, how loud it was actually impacted the benches and line communication. Like Andre Tourigny said that the way that they tried to call out lines ended up being like a game of telephone, with him going on one side to the other with his assistants trying to relay who needed to be out on the ice at certain times, because guys were getting so confused they just couldn't hear from the coaches, led to a too many men penalty.
Stormy, when you look at the impact for Torts here on Vegas, the coaching change late in the season, how much with the, obviously the eyes on playoff success, how much pressure is on Vegas to close out this series? Not necessarily tonight, but to get past Utah.
Sure. There's always pressure in Vegas when you have Kelly McCrimmon at the hold of this leadership group and somebody who is not afraid to make changes, as evidenced by what he did moving on from Bruce Cassidy to John Tortorella. And I think, to your point, right, that just elevates the expectations that much more. We're moving on from a head coach who led us to a Stanley Cup win just a couple years ago, because we don't feel like we're getting the most out of this ready now to win another cup roster. And so Torts has really prioritized, mentality over X's and O's, and he's preached aggressiveness. He's preached pace and just playing like a fast, hard, gritty type of a game. And at times I feel like the Golden Knights have had that, and especially late in games when they've had to have it. The fact that Utah has led in the third period of every game in this series, yet find themselves down 3-0 on the brink of elimination, I think is a testament to at least the belief and comfort that this team has in the uncomfortable, and experience probably plays a big role in that.
Now, Stormy, I know you're not allowed to bet the game since you're working it, so I'm not going to ask you what you think of the numbers. I'll just ask you a simple question. Are we going to 7 here?
I kind of get the vibe that we are, but that's just because everyone, and I've told you this, Mike, something is wrong with me that when I cover a game, I get lost in the sauce and I believe everything that everyone's telling me. And just the mentality that Utah has had and seems to be coming into this game with, they're ready, and they do have the home ice behind them. Logan Krause even said there is zero doubt in his mind that they're going to finish the job here in Utah and bring this thing back to Vegas for Game 7. And selfishly, just as a hockey fan, I want more games. Like, I want a Game 7. I want us to be living on the edge and see where this thing goes. This has been such a coin flip series every single game. It wouldn't surprise me again if tonight comes down to the very bitter end.
It's going to be a great atmosphere in Utah. Going to be a great atmosphere. A place I'd like outside of Utah, Stormy, would be Montreal. I mean, if you get Lightning Canadiens, and Mike mentioned it before. I mean, it's been an extremely tight series. What should the NHL fan keep an eye on for early on in that game, or in a Game 6 tonight up in Montreal between the Lightning and Canadiens?
Yeah, first off, can I just say, selfishly, from my days when I was a rinkside reporter and I got to travel all around the country to all of the various arenas and hotels, Montreal, far and away, best hotel in the league. And you're going to think I'm really weird for this, but they have these unbelievable bathrooms where they have heated floors, heated towel warmers, and the crazy heated toilet situation. And I'm not alone in this. Ask any coach in the league, they'll tell you the same. The Montreal Ritz is the best hotel in the league by far. Anyways, as for tonight, I think another coin flip, right? It's the way that Montreal was able to have that go-ahead goal early in the third period last game and just held on for dear life to get it. I was surprised, and Mike and I talked about this yesterday, surprised that they were even available in that game at a plus 140-ish price, because all these games have been such a toss-up. All but one game in this series have been a 3-2 final. All but one have gone under the posted total. And so that's something that I would be looking toward today. I see this being an under game again, a potential elimination game for Montreal at home. Plus plays more into that traditional NHL playoff game style, more defensive, tighter checking. No one's going to want to give you an inch. I like the first period under as well. And Mike, I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but I'm sure you do. You brought it up on Money Moves yesterday. The gist of every series in the first round, not named Anaheim, Edmonton, or Dallas, Minnesota, has been a cash cow for the first period under.
Yes, it has. 22-7 to the under in the first period in the other 6 series. Guess what, Stormy?
Beautiful.
I'm going under first period in all 3 games today. I'm just going to ride that one until the wheels fall off there. I got to say, Stormy, yesterday you tell us how tough the life is because you might have to go to a game 7 and you don't know where you're going. And today you're telling Ritz-Carlton stories. You got to watch out. I mean, your life is sounding a little too good right now.
Oh, man, I'm coming across as bougie. I promise I'm not. Although, yes, because both of the series ended yesterday, now you're going to think I'm even more bougie. I'm like, oh, no, I don't get a game 7. I get a Saturday at home. So it's just like I can't win here.
Stormy, do you think Buffalo closes out Boston tonight?
What was that?
We got one more game on the slate tonight, Stormy. We got Buffalo heading into Boston. Right now, Buffalo is slight favorite, minus 120 on the board. Boston plus 100 at home. Great game 5 in this one with Boston being able to get that overtime goal. What do you think happens in Boston tonight?
Yeah, I kind of get the feel that the Sabres finished the job tonight, and it's not too pricey. I was very impressed with Boston and the way that they were able to bounce back, the way that they did extend this series. I mean, Pasta best served al dente in an overtime. What a sick game winner that they had to force this thing to go back to TD Garden. And I know that they're at home, and I know that Jeremy Swayman can win a game by himself, but quite frankly, he's already done that a couple times in the series, and I think it's a big ask for him to do it again. Buffalo, prior to last game, was averaging 4.3 goals per 65 on 5, and they were held to just 1 power play goal, which that's actually the irony of that game to me is Buffalo finally got the power play goal going with that goal from Rasmus Dahlin. They were 0 for 39 in the month of April on the power play, but that's how they score in what was a loss. This feels like the spot where they're just going to get back to their game. You know, it was an inexperienced team, had to learn that even at home, just how hard it is to close out a good team in the playoffs. They learned that lesson last game, and I think they bounce back and get it done today. Even with, I know it's kind of it is a significant loss not having Noah Ostlund in the lineup, but the fact that they get Josh Norris to slot back in after missing the last 3 games with injury, I think should at least backfill that spot enough.
Well, Stormy, we all love heated flooring, especially in a bathroom. If Montreal's the number 1 road hotel, what's number 2?
Ooh. Oh, man. It's just honestly, Montreal is just on another level. I don't really know if there's another great comparison as your clear-cut number 2, but I was very recently, it's going to sound so bougie. I was recently at the Ritz in Denver, and they had a very nice setup and a very nice spread, and that's where the road teams stay when they're visiting the Colorado Avalanche. And of course, leave it to the Avs, as if they don't have enough nice things. Even their hotel for the road team is good.
Stormy, have a great game tonight, all right? And maybe we get a game 7 between Vegas and Utah, but have a great game tonight, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And can I just end you with this? Yes, I know the hotels in the NHL are great. In college football, guys, I stay at La Quinta Inns. I stay at Best Westerns. All right. It is not all sunshine and rainbows, let me tell you.
That's Stormy Buonantony getting ready for a big game 6 tonight between Utah and the Vegas Golden Knights. We're rolling right along. He's Mike Somich. I'm Mark Malusis. It's Money Moves right here on a Friday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, if you're looking for live streaming and replays from nearly any thoroughbred harness or greyhound track out there, check out RTN.TV, the racetrack television network. RTN has more HD content than any other streaming service and is available on TVs, PCs, tablets, smartphones, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV. Just head to RTN.TV and enter promo code VSiN, VSIN, to get your first 5 days for free. It's a Friday edition of Money Moves. Mark Malusis and Mike Somich with you. Oaks Day will continue to break down Derby 152, but we're on the verge, I think 15 minutes to 7 straight stakes races out at Churchill Downs, Mike, highlighted by later on tonight, 8:40 post time, Eastern time, the Kentucky Oaks. When you look at the undercard today, and Oaks Day is fantastic. Everyone wearing the pink, and tomorrow's going to be Derby Day. It's a tremendous 2 days of racing out at Churchill Downs. Anything that you like on the undercard, the 8 bells, anything you like on the undercard before we delve into the Oaks?
Yeah, I've got 2 plays on the undercard that I like quite a bit here. We'll start out in the race that you mentioned, the 8th race at Churchill Downs, the 8 bells. It's the fillies going 7 furlongs on the dirt. I like the number 9, On Time Girl. This is a horse that was dominant when running shorter distances, 6, 6.5, and 7 furlongs, stretched out to a mile last time out, and didn't run quite up to par. Still ran well, but just not at the level we had seen going those shorter distances. Today, she's cutting back to 7 furlongs. And there is a ton of speed signed on, including Goodall, who's a very good horse, right to her inside. The pace should be very hot, and breaking from the outside really sets her up well to pick her position, decide where she wants to sit, and then make a move around that far turn. I read Ortiz rides for Brad Cox, so the connections are strong here as well. 5-2 on the morning line. I think we're probably going to get right around 5-2. I have fair odds closer to 8-5. So quite a bit of room to work with there on the number 9 On Time Girl in the 8th race there at Churchill Downs. Other undercard play I like quite a bit is in race number 12, race right before the Kentucky Oaks here, and that's the number 3, Imagination the Lady, 4-1 on the morning line here. It's a 1.16 miles on the turf. Last time came back in the Appalachian, and I thought ran really well in that race, was breaking from the 9 post, was kind of forced wide on the first turn, ended up in the 8 path coming down to the wire, and just missed, ran second by a neck in that race to Storms Lake. Now you're getting this horse who's kind of keyed up a little bit more, second off the layoff, should be ready to handle this level of competition. I think Imagination the Lady should be like a 2-1 favorite in this race. So I'll happily take the 4-1 on the morning line there. She was dominant as a 2-year-old. Second off the bench as a 3-year-old, she should be even better.
Yeah, and 2 not this time fillies for Mike Somich in both of those races. So who was a very, very talented 2-year-old who unfortunately hurt his racing career, got injured and ended way too soon. When you get into the Oaks, Zany, the morning line favorite, Rapoli, he had the morning line favorite, obviously in Renegade in the Kentucky Derby. A lot of people have talked about the Oaks later on tonight being kind of wide open. You know, it's not a one filly race. It's not a case of like what we saw a year ago where, you're looking at Good Cheer. Is Good Cheer going to get the race, and was she going to be victorious? What do you make of this Oaks field on the whole, Mike?
It's a lot like the Derby. I mean, there's 8 horses that are 10-1 or less right now. Your favorite is at 4-1. You mentioned Zany was your morning line favorite at 4-1. Not a horse that I'm all that interested in. I haven't seen the improvement from 2 to 3 that I would expect from Zany, and specifically the last race, the Ashland, where she got beat by the 11 Percy's Bar. Really makes me pause and say, all right, do I really want to take this horse at a short price when she's coming back? The other thing in this race is there is a ton of speed signed on. We've got a lot of horses that want to be forward, that want to be in first. Like sometimes you'll have speed where it's a lot of horses want to be close to the pace. This is a race where horses want to be on the lead. And that generally is going to mean the pace is going to go pretty quick. I really liked the number 9 horse, who's 10-1 on the morning line. Unfortunately, I am not the only one, apparently, is always a runner. Third-time starter here for Chad Brown is now your 4-1 favorite in the race. I still think this is the best horse. The price is starting to get me a little worried here, Mark, though. I don't want to take too short of a price on Always the Runner, but she is my top pick in this spot. And it's a fascinating horse. She sold for $1 million at auction. And she was not able to get out in her 2-year-old season because she caught a cold late in her 2-year-old season. It actually developed into pneumonia. She almost passed away. She spent time in a hyperbaric chamber for horses to help her get back to health. Debuted at Tampa, got the win there, stepped right up from Tampa. And in her second career race, she went 1.125 miles in the Grade 3 Gazelle and was able to win that race. You talked to Chad Brown afterward. He mentions how she was only about 75, 80% fit, yet ran an 89 buyer and beat Grade 3 company in her second ever start. Feels like the sky's the limit here for this filly at 3. I think she takes a step forward here. I was more excited about 10-1 than I am 4-1, but she is the horse that I'm going to key on here in the Oaks. And I'm going to use her in the Oaks Derby double as well with Chief Wallaby and the number 9, the Puma, moving from today into tomorrow. What were your thoughts on the Oaks today, Mark?
Yeah, well, a couple things. Number one, this is what makes, the kind of the crossover when the 15 Lovely Gray, who's owned by Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, 30-1 on the morning line. And a lot of money coming in on Lovely Gray right now, sitting at 6-1 is Lovely Gray. So that to me is an intriguing one to take a look at. Not that I like her, I don't, but that's where the odds board kind of gets a little thrown off. I like the 10 Prom Queen for Brad Cox and Javier Castellano, owned by Gary and Mary West. I think improving daughter of Quality Road. I think the distance is going to suit her. I really do. With the mile and an eighth, odds have ticked down 8-1 on the morning line, sitting there at 6-1. Have a healthy respect. I do think, and I like Zany a little bit more than you do, Mike, when you're looking at this 3-year-old filly from Pletcher, Ortiz, Rapoli, obviously the big trio. We see it, a daughter of American Pharaoh. Out of a Mo Green mare. But I think the speed, I do think the distance and the closing kick for Zany, the question I have is getting the trip. Very similar to the conversation that we had with Renegade. But those are the two that I like on top. I can understand where, and I would say to you, if you like a horse at 10-1, now 9-2, and we've seen kind of, sometimes early money ends up being the smart money. Cashing is better than trashing, right? So if you like the horse, you like the horse, right? So you'd rather, even if it's not necessarily the odds that you love, Mike, if you have the right winner and you like the Chad Brown filly tonight, then I would stick with her.
Yeah, I'm going to play her. The amount of money I will play on her has shrunk. Obviously, at 10-1, I'm going to be on a little bit more than at 9-2. And I'm going to use her in the Oaks Derby doubles because I do think there's a lot of value in that specific bet because of how wide open both of these races are and the number of horses. A 14-horse field into a 20-horse field and two wide open races. You're going to get some very good daily double prices. So I do like betting that Oaks Derby double today using always a runner. I had Prom Queen in second. So I agree with your take here on the 10. I think Prom Queen has an opportunity to really step forward and be able to show what she can do. Was able to win the Gulfstream Park Oaks. I don't think that Florida was the best circuit for the fillies like I did with the boys, but I still think that was an impressive race. I'm a little interested in the number 5 Meaning as well. It's a horse from Michael McCarthy who won on debut and then jumped right into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies as a 2-year-old. Came back at 3, ran a mile, won at Santa Anita, won the Grade 2 Santa Anita Oaks as well. I think she projects to get that kind of same trip as Zany here, where you're going to see her wanting to be able to sit from off the pace and be able to make the run. McCarthy, very good in these spots at shipping horses in for stakes races. He's got a $3.53 ROI in graded stakes, and you're getting the right price. Meaning is not getting bet right now. I saw her floating up from that 5-1 morning line.
And one thing to keep note of, racing got going at 12:30 Eastern time out at Churchill Downs. Post time for the Kentucky Oaks is 8:40 tonight under the lights, trying to bring in that primetime audience and bring a little bit more exposure to it. Mike, I was asking you earlier, how the track is playing. You mentioned 7 furlongs playing more for horses coming from off the pace. Overall, rain a little bit earlier in the week at Churchill Downs. Something to pay attention to on Oaks Day and on Derby Day in terms of how the track is playing. Is it playing more toward front runners, more toward closers? Is it pretty even where you have an even shot or a good shot of winning either based on your running style? How's the track playing up until this point in time?
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked with Steve Bick about, hey, we're not going to have rain here on Friday or Saturday for the first time in a while. And I think that's a huge benefit to the horse player. It did rain on Monday, and we saw a sloppy track on Tuesday and a little bit of an off track on Wednesday. And we saw speed play very well, specifically going that mile and a 16th distance and going 6 furlongs in a mile on the Churchill Downs dirt course. As the track has dried out, it feels a lot more fair. You have to be the best horse if you want to go gate to wire. It feels like you can close a little bit on the dirt. You don't want to be dead last with a slower pace. That's going to be a problem, but that's kind of the way you want horse racing to go. You want the best horse to be able to win if they get the proper setup in this. And right now on the dirt, it's playing that way. 7 furlong races. I do believe there's a little bias toward the closer, but part of the reason for that isn't the track. It's the fact that you have so many 6 furlong horses stretching out and running 6 furlong opening fractions at a 7 furlong distance where they just back up a little bit more when going 7. Over on the turf course, absolutely pristine right now. No complaints on the turf. You can win gate to wire. You can win from off the pace. So right now it's all about handicapping the puzzle correctly on the turf course. And this dirt is as fair as I've seen Churchill in a while for a Kentucky Derby in Oaks Day.
When we come back on Money Moves, Best Bets, we'll break down Derby 152. Samich will give out his superfecta. Nailed it last year. Will it be 2 years in a row, plus 6 game sixes in the NBA and the NHL? That's all next, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, smarter bets start here and last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, get our annual subscription, normally $240 for just $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in 2 extra months for free. That's 14 months in VSiN Pro for less than 50 cents a day with promo code PRO, P-R-O. Get access to daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools and matchup analysis, 24/7 video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app, plus all our special edition betting guides from every major sport throughout the year. Head to vsin.com/subscribe and use promo code PRO, P-R-O. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Final segment here, Money Moves. Mark Malusis, Mike Samich with you. In for JVT and Sonny on this Friday. Oaks Day out there at Churchill Downs. Kentucky Derby 152 is tomorrow. And let's start there with the Run for the Roses. We're both pony guys, Mike, and we've had some scratches, but we're gonna get a full field tomorrow, obviously. And you're looking at a field of 23-year-olds, win contention. I mean, ask the horse players. Some will make an argument for 8, some 9, some 10. Me personally, I think it's probably 5 or 6 that you can make a serious argument for. Renegade, obviously, the morning line favorite. Right now, he's 5-1 on the odds board. But the Arkansas Derby winner drawing the rail. We haven't seen a horse win from the rail in 40 years out at Churchill Downs. Further ado, obviously impressive in the Bluegrass. You look at the Florida Derby. Obviously, people look at that race as being a key race going into tomorrow. What do you like in terms, before we get to your superfecta, what do you like tomorrow from a win contention standpoint in Kentucky Derby 152?
Yeah, I kind of agree with your point. I could make a case for probably 5, maybe a 6th horse if I really wanted to. From a betting perspective, to me, there is 3 horses that if I want to bet to win, I'm going to one of them. The first one is my top pick, Chief Wallaby. I've loved this horse for months. I think that this horse is the most talented horse in the field. The question mark is he going to put it together tomorrow? If he does, I think that he wins. If you've watched the Florida Derby, if you watch the Fountain of Youth, you can see the talent. It's just the mental aspect that he needs to figure out. Bill Mott putting blinkers on here. Not a great move in the Kentucky Derby. However, Bill Mott very good when he does that. So I'm going to trust the trainer and trust the talent that Chief Wallaby has. I'm going to put him on top at 8-1. I think if you want to bet the Puma to win, he makes sense as well here. Won the Tampa Bay Derby, came back in the Florida Derby, made an early move. I don't think you're going to see that this year. I think it's going to be a very Mage-esque style trip for the Mage Connections if they win their second Derby, where Puma just drops back and makes one run into a very hot pace and tries to get to the wire first. I think that is possible. And my long shot, if I was playing to win here, would be the number 11, Incredible, trained by Riley Mott, Bill Mott's son. It's a horse that was very talented at 2, was 2 for 2 over this Churchill Downs dirt. Went down to Florida and ran in one of the early prep races there and just didn't show up. Just too bad to believe type race. Draw a line through it. He goes to the Virginia Derby. I thought was very impressive. Took a nice step forward in that Virginia Derby. We'll see if he can repeat that effort. And if he does, he's going to need to improve quite a bit. But the price is right. He's close to 30-1 right now on the board. What about you, Mark? Who are you looking at betting to win if you went any direction?
Well, I like Chief Wallaby. I'm with you. I'm a huge Bill Mott fan, and I know you are too. And, he a winner last year with Sovereignty. There's nothing not to like. He's a true horseman, takes care of his horse. Inexperienced, there's no doubt about it, but I like the fact he's adding blinkers to get a little focused after what you saw in the Florida Derby and has been training up and looks the point of perfection in the mornings out there at Churchill Downs. I liked Renegade before the post position draw last weekend, and I'm going to stick with him. Even though he's breaking from the rail, even though we haven't seen a horse in 40 years when the Kentucky Derby breaking from the rail, and that was Ferdinand with Bill Shoemaker. I still think that turn of foot. Now, Ortiz is going to have to work out a trip for Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli. He would have had to have worked out a trip regardless because he's got no early speed. So whether he's breaking from the rail or whether he's breaking from the 10 or the 11, and I think the fact that he's breaking from the rail will probably help his odds a little bit. He's sitting there at 5-1 right now, 4-1 on the morning line. I think he fits. A little bit of a concern when you're looking at the hoof issue and the quarter crack, but still, those are my 2 win contenders. I like Chief Wallaby, your top pick, who you've been on for a long time, and I'm going to stick with Renegade. I'm not going to go with Commandment. Further ado, I get a little bit concerned about the Bluegrass winner after winning that race by daylight, Mike, in terms of if we see regression tomorrow from Further Ado.
Yeah, the Further Ado is the toughest horse that I've had. He ends up on the bottom part of my superfecta because of the talent we've seen. But this is a horse where you mentioned it, ran the lights out at Keeneland, but we've seen him do that once before. His 2 best career buyers, both over that Keeneland course. Last time he ran at Keeneland, he came back to Churchill Downs and he regressed by about 15% off that race. If he regresses by that much, he's going to be hard pressed to hit the board in this race. I also don't love the post for Further Ado. So it's a talent versus kind of the arguments you can make against him. To me, he is the easiest to argue for and argue against in this field. I am going to keep him on the bottom of the super, but not a horse that I want to really use on top in this spot. We've talked about the Japanese horses. It sounds like we're both against them.
Yes.
It's the non-Bourbon, right? If anyone wins, it's from Japan. It's got to be the non-Bourbon in this spot, right? No interest in Wonder Dean?
Yeah, I'm not interested in Wonder Dean. It would be the non-Bourbon for me. But I'm not going to play. And we were talking about it during one of the breaks, Mike. If one of the Japanese horses wins, I'm going to tip my cap. And I'm not telling you that it's an impossibility. It's not an impossibility. But I just, at some point in time, when you're looking at the Derby, you have to draw a line and say, this is where I'm willing to go. Because, money's money, right? And what's the proper investment? And when you're looking at the odds boards, I'm going to have the 2 Japanese horses off my tickets. And if either one of them win, you know what? I was wrong, and I'll tip my cap. Last year, you hit the superfecta, and you were all over it. 1, 2, 3, 4 looked easy for Mike Samich. What's your superfecta ticket this year?
Well, we spent a little bit more money. $24 last year, returned around $1,600. We're going to play a $36 ticket. This will return more than $1,600 if it hits, Mark, because we're leaving the first and second favorites off here in this race. We're going to play 2 horses in the top spot here, the Puma and Chief Wallaby, the 2 that I discussed there is the 2 that are most likely in my mind to win this race. In the second spot, we're going to add Commandment, who I think is the most likely horse to hit the board. Yet I would never bet to win. I just don't see the upside for him. I think he's kind of a grinder who will be there, but is going to struggle to win the race. I will put the Puma, the 9 horse, in the second spot as well, including Credibolt, and the 11, and then the 12, Chief Wallaby. And the third and fourth spots will be the number 6, the number 9, the number 12, and we'll add the number 18, Further Ado, there as well. So 9, 12 with 6, 9, 11, 12 with 6, 9, 11, 12, 18 with 6, 9, 11, 12, 18 for $1. It'll cost you $36. And again, a lot of numbers. We'll have this up on X over on @VSiN Live as well as @SamoBomb18 over there if you want to have a nice little graphic to be able to pull up when you're betting on your ADW.
All right, we got 6 game 6s tonight, 3 in the association, 3 in the National Hockey League, Mike. In terms of floor is yours, what do you like from an NBA, NHL perspective tonight?
I'm going to go back to the well in my first period unders. 22-7 so far in the 6 series that don't include the Wild or the Ducks, who both advanced last night. I'm going to play all 3 of these games first period under. We'll start with the Lightning's Canadians. First period under a goal and a half, -120. It's been a tight series. I expect this series to get tighter, more defensive as we move along. I think this is going to be a game where the Lightning specifically try and play a road hockey game. Stay out of the box, weather the storm. Don't take any chances in the first period. That's going to push us toward the under in that spot. The second game of the day here, Buffalo and Boston, going to that first period under, -120 as well. I've talked a lot about this and the 22-7 record. We've only seen the books move 15 cents as they've gone 75%. I don't think that's as big of adjustment. That's why I'm coming back in on these. Last year in the playoffs, at some points, we saw -145s, and we're still sitting at this -120, -115 number. So I'll play that Sabres-Bruins first period under, 1.5, -120. The Bruins, by the way, one of the best home team first period unders in the NHL during the regular season as well. And then we will close it out going back to the first period under in the NHL with the Golden Knights and the Utah Mammoth there. Under 1.5 is -115. This is the one I'm most worried about. We've seen hot starts for these teams. I do think that specifically the Mammoth are going to be like, let's just make sure we control this game and don't get jumped on by Vegas. We'll go first period under there as well. If I was going to bet any side tonight, it would be the Mammoth, but I do not have a ticket in my account. I've got 2 bets from the association as well here. Detroit, Orlando, under 210.5, and the Cleveland Cavaliers minus 4.5. Any best bets for you today, Mark?
Yeah, I got the Cavaliers. I'm with you, laying the 4.5. And I'm going to take the Magic plus the 3.5 as a home dog against the Detroit Pistons. Even without Franz Wagner, they've been the better team in this series. They easily could have beat the Detroit in Game 5. Cade Cunningham has put on his Superman cape time and time again in this series. But Orlando has finally been the team that we expect them to be during the course of the regular season. So I got 2 plays in the NBA. Would not touch the Rockets and Lakers, but I'll take the Magic plus the 3.5 and the Cavaliers laying the 4.5. Don't go anywhere. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard are up next. Follow the money tonight. Eddie Olczyk breaks down the NHL playoffs and has his best bets for the Derby. Then at 7 p.m., VSiN Primetime takes over. Matt Humans and Will Hill. And at 10 p.m., the Sports Gambling Podcast closes out the night. Mike, it's been a blast. Good luck in the Derby tomorrow. Make it 2 in a row.